Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So another video, another theory. Let's start our session today with Al-Fatihah. Okay, so we've already discussed several theories. Okay, today we're going to discuss about another category. Okay, probably the most dominant category in media and communication theories, which is the post-positivist. Okay. So we will start with this slide first, okay? Because I want to remind you about these four categories, okay? Remember, you should remember the historical development. We've already discussed normative theory. We've already discussed critical cultural theory. And now we're going to discuss post-positivist theory. Okay, so post-positivist theory is also called the dominant paradigm in media studies, okay? It is called the dominant paradigm because it is the most used, okay? And it is considered scientific, and it is basically the original, okay, idea coming from the American media scholarship, okay? Post-positivist theory. Probably it would have been better for me to cover this topic before we go into cultural and critical theory, but it's still okay. All right, you will notice that post-positivist theory is working sometimes opposite of cultural and critical theory. Okay, out of these four major categories, okay, normative theory is quite unique because it talks about the ideal media practices. But under this normative theory, you can see some are more liberal, more positivist than others. Okay. So these are the four major categories. Basically, there are four umbrellas in media and communication theory. So most of the theories that you will use in your research later on will come from one of these umbrella. So here we're talking about the last umbrella, post-positivist theory. Media effects or the post-positivist trend. Okay. So here when we talk about post-positivism, okay, why does it relate to media effects? Because we have to go back, okay, remember we talk about the history of media theory, that it started with the idea of mass society, okay, or some people call it bullet theory in mass society, okay, mass effects, okay, that means that the media gives direct effects to the audiences, to the people, all right, without really measuring how these effects occur. So when they did not measure, and because it was based on assumption, okay, the mass society theories, okay, automatically thinks that media effects are negative because they only take a broad view, okay, and they don't measure. So throughout the development, okay, there are scientists, okay, media scholars who started to say that in order for us to learn about media and to acknowledge the impact of media, we must be more objective when we study media. Okay, so we have people, okay, like these names, Paul Lazarsfeld, Carl Hoveland, these people who we call social scientists. Okay, they don't specifically study media and communication, but they are social scientists because they study social phenomenon. Okay, and they say that in order for us to be acknowledged, okay, everything must be scientific. And I've already discussed with you, you should already know what scientific means now, okay? So in order to advance communication theory, they say everything must be scientific. So they explain every relationship through a particular process, okay? So here, via this video, you should be able to understand what we mean by post-positivism, all right? Now, media effects. Do you believe that the media have effects? Okay. Traditionally, okay, mass society says yes, there is really significant effect, okay, and the effect is negative. Critical cultural theory also yes, the effects, and the effects is to maintain status quo, that is going to help the elites. So the media effects trend or the post-positivists, they also believe that the media have effects. How can the media not have effect? If it doesn't have any effects, it does not have any impact, then there's no use of the media, right? Okay, but okay, the post-positivists believe, okay, that the media's impact and effect is very relative and very subjective. Okay, you cannot say that the impact is all negative. Okay, and the post-positivists acknowledge that these effects is, okay, different from one person to another, one group to another, because media effects is not independent of other influences. Okay, that means media effects is part of culture, part of society. So in order to understand the media effects, okay, the academics or the researchers must use a proper method, and this is what we mean by scientific. There must be a proper method that can measure how much is the effect and how the effects occur. All right. So the overview, all right, there are three general, okay, not only three theories, there's so many theories under post-positivism, okay, but we're going to talk about the three general ones, okay. The first is the media effects trend. Okay, in this trend or in this group of theories, okay, it is believed that media effects on individuals, because of their importance, should be the focus of research. Post-positivist methods provide the best avenue of inquiry. Okay, so it says that media effects on individuals. Now, I hope you notice this difference. Okay, when we talk about critical cultural, we talk about normative theory, we talk about grand theories, okay, that take macroscopic views. Okay, they talk about the impact of media on society. But through media effects trend, they want to focus on individuals. Okay, because they believe, all right, that individuals are affected differently. Okay, you cannot make general assumptions saying that the media gives negative effect on everyone, because you can see that it does give positive effect to other people, okay, to certain groups of people. So in order to find out how media affects individuals, you must use post-positivist methods. Okay, so what are post-positivist methods? Sorry, okay. Post-positivist methods are scientific. That means it's quantitative. It usually uses numbers. It tries to be as accurate as possible. That means when you say, okay, the media or social media affects Gamon, okay, or social media affects Dayar, you must measure, okay, how did this effect occur? If you say Gamon is influenced by his use of Twitter, okay, or Twitter, all right, then to prove that, you must measure. Okay, you must measure how many times does he share on Twitter, how much hours, how much time does he spend on Twitter. Okay, and then you must then measure, okay, what do you mean by influence? Does it mean that the influence can be seen via the way Gamon dress, or the way Gamon eats, or the way Gamon writes on his Twitter? Can you understand? You must be very specific, and that everything is measurable. Why? Why so detailed? Because you want to make sure that when you make this assumption, you say that media has effects, you must prove it. Okay. And there's another group of theories, okay, functionalism is also post-positivist, okay, where it is a theoretical approach that conceives of social systems as living organisms whose various parts work or function together to maintain essential processes. Okay, so in this group, okay, why do I say group? Because there are many other theories under functionalism. Okay, that's why they call it functionalism. There's functional theory, there's uses and gratification. Those are part of functionalism. Okay, but all of these are post-positivist. Okay. If you notice, this are how theories work. They have big theories, and then they have many other related theories under them. Okay, so that's why theories beranak. You know beranak or not? They give birth to more theories. So that's why it's never ending. You cannot cover all the theories. Okay, but if you are able to understand the major categories, okay, then you have no problem to understand, okay, all those little anak-anak theories. You get what I'm saying? Okay. So functionalism, okay, so this group of theories believe, okay, that yes, media have effects, but the effects is not really just effects, they are functions. That means they are meant to do something, okay. So the function, okay, for example, the function of media is to inform, okay. So when media gives you information, they have done their function, that is the effects. Okay, but what people do with the function, the information, whether good or bad, is not really the responsible of the media, because the media has already pursued its function. Okay, because organisms works together, okay, to maintain essential processes. That means the media applies its function to give information. But what people do with those information is another process altogether. And it's not the responsibility of the researcher to find out. Okay? Can you understand? So functionalism only focus on the use and the functions, okay, of the media. Also, we have communication systems theory that examines the mass communication processes as composed of interrelated parts that work together to meet some goal. Okay? So this theory focuses on the mass communication process. Remember, the word here is mass communication. Okay, so this theory is more relevant to broadcast media, okay, because they believe, okay, the effect of the media, mass communication, TV, radio, okay, is not just the result of one component, but the interrelated part. That means the effects that comes from the media, okay, when you want to study, you cannot only study only the content. You must also study, for example, the technologies, okay, the different components that contribute to the creation of the media product, okay. So, I give you these photos of Hovland and Lazarsfeld, okay. Yeah, they're not that good looking, okay, but they're very smart, okay. So girls and boys, okay, go for the brain before the looks. Can like that? I don't know, all right. So here, Paul Lazarsfeld was a pioneer in the use of survey research to measure media influence on how people thought and acted. His surveys provided increasing evidence that media rarely had a powerful direct influence on individuals. Now, here we focus on empirical research. Okay, so post-positivists are empirical, scientific, all right? That means they are based on evidence, okay? So Lazarsfeld is always quoted as one of the father of social science, okay? Because he was the proponent of survey questionnaires, okay? Because he says you cannot make assumptions. If you say the media is giving effects or influencing this group of people, you must ask them. So how to ask them? You do survey. Of course, there are more methods is more complicated, okay? You can't be surveying everyone. So that's why there's the idea of sampling, of measuring, okay? And statistics and all those stuff. But the point is, so right, they use specific methods. So the methods, they try to be very, very, what we call it, strict, because they want to make sure that the data they gather from the research is credible, reliable, and valid. Okay, I'm sure you've learned about reliability and validity. Okay. So when he does survey and when you do survey, okay, you will realize that mostly when you ask people as individuals, they will say that the media has limited effects. Okay. Why media has limited effects? Because you ask them. Okay, and when a person is being surveyed, usually they will think before they answer. All right. And they will obviously not say that the media influence them directly. Okay, so usually under post-positivist theories, and when you use this theory to do research, you will find that media effects are minimal or limited. Okay, not like mass society or critical and cultural theory that say the effect is very powerful. So if you use this theory, okay, you will usually find that the effects is minimal. All right. And then there's another guy here whose name is Carl Hoveland. Okay, he demonstrated how experimental methods could be used to evaluate media influence. He too found that media lacked the power to instantly convert average people away from strongly held beliefs. Okay, so Paul Lazarsfeld say survey. Carl Hoveland introduced experimental methods. Like what? Okay, like when you want to survey the effects of movies, okay, you let a certain group of sample audiences watch the particular movie, and then you see their reaction. Okay, so he too, when you use a method that is very strict and very carefully defined, you will find that it is the effect of media is not as direct and not as powerful as critical cultural theories would claim. Can you follow so far? Why is the media effects minimal? Because they use strict methods and they ask the audiences. They get direct data from the field instead of making general observation. Okay. So how was this post-positivist effects trend developed? Okay. It developed within the academia, okay, because of their stress on empirical social research. Okay, so the academics, okay, this is when you take an historical approach, okay, in the 40s and 50s, okay, they want to get acknowledgement, okay, and they want to make sure that their research is giving strong evidence. So they say, okay, we cannot assume, okay, to make broad assumptions. There must be empirical support. So this group of people, this group of researchers like Lazarsfeld, like Carl Hoveland, okay, when they introduce scientific and empirical methods, they manage to create some kind of propaganda saying those people who do research but do not use methods, scientific or quantitative methods, those people are not scientific. So they created a division between the scientific and the unscientific. So they will argue, for example, culturalist, okay, or critical theories as not scientific, right? And another reason why post-positivist is a dominant approach or very popular, because there is a commercial potential of the research methods gained by this approach. What do we mean here? Okay, it says here, exploited the commercial potential of the new research methods and gained the support of private industry. Now, the industries realize, these new research methods, they're not saying that we are negative. Actually, they find us to be positive. So they are willing to fund or give money to post-positivist researchers to do research work for them. Okay, because post-positivist effects is quite objective. When they want to study a media effects, they study it with zero assumptions, not saying that it's going to be negative or positive. Okay, and this has also related to commercial research. What are commercial research? For example, the media company realize, if we do research, we can identify what people like. And then when we know what people like, we can produce more of this type of content and can get more audiences. Okay, so when media companies started to do market research, they use post-positivist trend. You know what's market research? Okay, sometimes they give you survey, right, to answer which is the TV channel that you watch most, or TV program that you like most. Okay, so these are the kinds of research that is post-positivist. Okay, can you understand or not? Media companies began to sponsor and eventually conduct their own empirical research on media. So initially, when we talk about media research, we talk about media effects, okay, or how it affects people, how it affects society, okay. But with post-positivism, they realize, the media can benefit from the research too. Okay, that media companies wants to conduct their own empirical research. Media companies want to know what people like, what people watch. All right. So market research has been used to create ratings. You know, TV would claim, or TV3 would claim we are the #1 TV channel in Malaysia. Okay, or Netflix would claim, or we are the #1 streaming service in the world. How do they know? They do the research. Okay, and how do they know what to give us what we like? Okay, also based on research. Okay, so basically, all right, the post-positivists, okay, they have successfully established their approach, the empirical scientific approach, within various social research disciplines: political science, history, social psychology, sociology, and economics. Okay, so because of this new method, claiming that it is scientific, empirical, okay, you have an industry of social scientists coming from all over, from different disciplines like political science, history. Can you follow? All right. So this post-positivist is an umbrella theory. Okay, so it is not only specific to media and communication. Okay, it is an approach to studying social science. Okay. So when we use post-positivism to theorize media effects, that means to look at the impact or effect of media or even any communication process, we will understand that post-positivism always lead us to limited or minimal effects theory. Okay, I've already discussed just now what this means. This means, again, all right, that post-positivist theories, when you conduct empirical research, when you do surveys, okay, you tend to be more careful, okay, in establishing real relationship, and you get data direct from the field. That means you have to go survey or experiment with those people who you think is being affected. Okay, so as a result, usually you will find out, okay, that obviously influence is not direct. It is mitigated by a variety of mediating and intervening variables. What does this mean? It means that when you say there's media effects, there's influence, okay? When you say, okay, the internet, okay, or Facebook is affecting, okay, is affecting Christina, all right? So you must go and study Christina. And obviously you will find out that Christina is not just affected by media alone, is affected by so many things, okay, by her life experience, her gender, her culture, okay. So when you want to say the effects, when you want to identify media effects alone, it would become very minimal because it is only part of different other intervening variables, okay. And individuals, because, okay, it's limited again because post-positivist studies individuals, all right? Individuals have different psychological makeups that cause media influence to vary from person to person, okay? And then it talks about, okay, under media effects, social categories. The idea that members of given groups or aggregates, that means a big number of people, will respond to media stimuli in more or less uniform ways, okay? Why is it that we can study individual differences when we cannot basically survey everyone in the population? Because then we can do sampling and put people under social categories, okay? So social categories means, okay, somewhat like sampling, okay? The idea that if we have already identified, okay, the kind of people, the kind of individuals that we want to study, okay, we will find people come from specific social categories and they will have similar ideals and similar experiences. And then, okay, post-positivists are inductive, okay, an approach to theory construction that sees research beginning with empirical observation rather than speculation. Inductive, that means it starts from small and then goes to big, all right? When we talk about critical theory, it's usually deductive. Deductive means from big to small. Okay. Like critical cultural theory, they say the media affects people, okay, because it maintains status quo. So it makes big relationship, media, status quo. But to study, to prove the relationship, or they study, okay, how the status quo is maintained in Malaysia, okay, through media used in Malaysia. So comes, okay, making grand generalizations through smaller observation. But post-positivism is the opposite. It starts with looking at a small phenomenon first. Okay, like I said just now, if you want to say the impact of media or social media on the Muslims, it's a very big relationship. Okay, so if you want to take an inductive approach, you start from small. You identify a small group of Muslims that you can study and you can observe. So you can say, all right, okay, I want to look at how, okay, the Chinese Muslims in IIUM use the social media. Very small, start small, observation. Because why small? Because it has to be empirical. You have to find them and ask them. Okay, you don't speculate. From the data, then you make the assumption. Okay, or you've already observed the Chinese Muslims in UIA, or they are very, very influenced, for example, okay, they like to dress a certain way and then they watch Netflix from morning to night to morning again. Then you can make some kind of assumption. Yes, okay, based on our studies of these minority Muslims, okay, the Chinese Muslims in UIA, the media is significant in influencing them. Can you follow what we mean by inductive? From small to big. Okay. Deductive is from big to small. Okay. So as a result, okay, post-positivists are usually composed of middle range theories. Remember, again, when we talk about normative theory or critical cultural theory, those are macroscopic, okay, grand theories, okay. Post-positivism in itself is a grand theory, but under it composes of middle range theories. Okay, that means a theory composed of empirical generalizations based on empirical fact. What this means again is that, okay, the subsets, okay, the many theories under post-positivism will not make grand assumptions, are not grand theories. They try to explain, okay, visible or smaller scale, or what we call as middle range relationship. Okay, like I said just now, okay, critical cultural theories would say, oh, media affects the Muslims, okay, help to maintain the American status quo. Those are grand assumptions. But middle range, okay, because you did not make that assumption, you studied Chinese Muslims in UIA, you study this small group, and then you study this average relationship. So what you are doing is based on the idea of middle range. You're not making grand assumptions, but you're making observable empirical assumptions. Empirical observation. So I give you an example of two steps flow theory. So two steps flow theory is a media effect, that is a theory that study media effects, is an example of post-positivist theory, and is also a middle range theory. Okay, so what is two-step flow? The idea that messages pass from the media through opinion leaders to opinion followers. Okay, now this two-step flow theory says media effects is not direct. Okay, when you watch a certain TV program or when you watch a film, you are not directly influenced. You are more influenced when you start to get ideas about that film from your friends, okay, or from the social media influencer. Okay, what does it mean? It means, for example, okay, we talk about movies like what movie? Okay, or you talk about the Korean dramas, right? I know the K-pop K-dramas are very popular. Crash Landing on You. Crash Landing on Me? Crash Landing somewhere lah. Okay, So that drama, okay, why do people want to watch it? It's not really because they have very clear experience with Korea or the Korean culture. It's because they heard it from their friend. Okay, and they read it that the social media influencers are watching this particular series. Okay, so the message that they got is not directly from the media, but from the opinion leaders. Okay, so when we talk about post-positivist theories, remember, they talk about trying to study individuals, okay, look at small scales, and they try to be scientific and empirical. So usually the theories are broken up into components. Okay, see here, these are basically what we mean by social categories. Okay, that when you want to explain the two-step flow theory, you must to identify what are the different categories, okay, that make up the relationship. Remember again, the relationship is always part of a bigger relationship, or what we call it, dynamic. Okay, so you're only studying one part, which is the media influence via opinion leaders. Okay, so who are the gatekeepers? In two-step flow, people who screen media messages and pass on those messages and help others share their views. Okay, gatekeepers are those who have the power to control the flow of the information. That means the gatekeepers have the ability to share or not share an information. Okay, if it's mass media or traditional media, the gatekeepers are clear. Okay, and there are many of them. The editors, the shareholders, the government are the gatekeepers for the information. Okay, but in social media, the gatekeepers is less. Okay, because usually you have the freedom to share whatever you want. Unless YouTube says, oh, your voice is so bad, we're not going to share your video, then YouTube can be considered a gatekeeper. All right. So this theory also talk about or mentions about opinion leaders. So opinion leaders are those people who pass on the information to the public or to their followers. On the other hand, the opinion followers are those who receive information from opinion leaders. Now, let's see how this works. The media gives you information. But the information don't usually directly come to the masses. It will go to the opinion leaders first. Then the opinion leaders will share with the rest. Okay, how, like I said just now, can a Korean drama become so popular on Netflix? Okay, when on Netflix you are also having options from thousands of other American-made series. But why trending in Malaysia, number one, K-drama? It's not really because the direct influence is usually by opinion leaders. Okay, when you have your friends and most of your friends or celebrities saying, oh, I watch this drama, I watch this Korean drama. So when they start to talk about that particular drama, then the rest or the masses will become more interested. Can you understand? Okay, so you can see this concept mostly when they try to sell products. You see today, right, advertisers, they don't advertise on TV, but they pay social media influencers to promote their products. Okay, why? Because the social media influencers can act as the opinion leaders. Okay, for example, okay, if there's a product, a makeup product, right? Okay, through advertisement, direct advertisement, usually less successful. But if they give that product to a social media influencer to review, and then the influencer will tell you, oh, I've tried this product, it's so good, look at how beautiful I am. They give you all those makeup tutorial using the particular products, and then you are sold. Okay, why? Because you are more convinced by the opinion leaders. Can you understand opinion leaders? So opinion leaders is not a designated role. That means not everyone is an opinion leaders, but it could be anyone, okay, who has the ability to influence probably among you in your group, you have a person or a friend that is more influential than others. Okay, or maybe you have a person that you see as your muse or your crush, okay, your girl crush. Okay, you just like the way that person dress, you just like the way the person what we call it, put her makeup on. Okay, so whatever the person wears become an idea to you, and that person is actually an opinion leader. Now, okay, so you've got here David Beckham, okay, and then you have Brad Pitt, okay, and Jennifer Aniston, okay. As you can see, I only take all these old celebrities, okay, because I'm old too, okay, because I'm more imperialized by the white. I think white people here more handsome than K-pop. Can I say that? Will I make some people angry? Okay, I'm sorry. For example, how does this relate to two-step flow? Okay, why are celebrities being paid millions of dollars to promote things? Because it is assumed that these celebrities are opinion leaders. Okay, so that the media effects, okay, is still minimal, because the effect is not just coming from the media, that when you are so crazy over Adidas or you want to wear Chanel No. 5, it's not really just because of the advertisement, it's because you see David Beckham, okay, or because Jennifer Aniston is drinking smart water, okay. Can you follow? Okay, so these people are the opinion leaders. Okay, but opinion leaders is not really just in the context of advertisement. It can be in the context of a lot of things, okay, like politics, okay. When there is an election coming up, okay, politicians would usually use celebrities to talk on their behalf, and all of these are examples, okay, of opinion leader. Hold on, yeah. Okay. All right, so I think you should be able to understand already what we mean by opinion leaders and the two-step flow theory. Their influence, and with regard to the media, okay, the influence is not always direct, okay. There is the intervening variable, okay, which are the opinion leaders and the gatekeepers, okay. So here, for example, okay, this image of social media influencers. Okay, so that is why Niloufar, when she wants to sell her shawls or tudong, okay, she usually promotes it herself on her Instagram, because that is more effective, because people can see an image that they believe, okay, or an image they are attracted to, okay, persuading them, okay. And you notice, right, celebrities nowadays, especially local celebrities during the PKP, the MCO, they have nothing to do. Every day they review food, because somebody will deliver food to them for them to review. Why? Because through their reviews, then they can influence their followers. So their followers are the opinion followers, and they are the opinion leaders. Okay, so when you are influenced by someone you follow on Instagram, you bought something because she bought it, then you are the opinion followers, okay? So what are the strengths of the two-step flow theory? Okay, it focuses attention on the environment which effects can and cannot occur. Okay, like I said, all right, because it's very specific. They can identify whether there's effects or not. Okay, it stresses the importance of opinion leaders in the formation of public opinion. Okay, through research, when they found out the role of opinion leaders, okay, it is a powerful tool that is being used by media companies, okay, by politicians. Many people are using this theory. Okay, so they identify opinion leaders and they use opinion leaders to persuade the people. Okay, and it is based on inductive rather than deductive. Okay, we've already discussed this just now. And then it effectively challenges simplistic notions of direct effects. Okay, because the effects is obviously not straight from the media to the public or to the masses, but through gatekeepers and through opinion opinion leaders. But it uses reported behavior as only test of media effects. Okay, media effects is more than just buying products or liking products. Okay, it downplays reinforcement as an important media effect. Okay, sorry, what's this? Okay, and it uses survey methods that underestimate media impact. Okay, later research demonstrates a multiple flow of influence. Nowadays, people say it's more than just two-step flows. There are multiple steps. Okay, it's not just the social media influencers, and then who else would influence? The friends. Okay, and then what about the challenges that comes? Maybe those people who will start to question or criticize your desire to follow a particular opinion leader. So it's more complex. Okay, now I want to highlight. I want to highlight here. Okay, that when we talk about weaknesses of any theories under post-positivists, okay, the weaknesses and the strength will be similar. Okay, the strength would be of post-positivist theories is usually the method. Okay, and this would be the weakness of critical cultural theory. Okay, here, but the weakness of media effects or post-positivists is that it underestimates effects. Okay, it doesn't talk about bigger consequences that is being discussed usually by critical cultural theories. Okay, yes, okay, they talk about middle range, what we call it, theories, okay, minimal effects, okay, that two-step flow only talks about or how opinion leaders affect the followers. But they don't talk about what are the implications, how much power do opinion leaders have, okay, and what if opinion leaders have their own propaganda. So these big questions are not being asked, and it's not the interest of this theory in specific or post-positivist theories in general. Okay, so I think this is where we stop for this video. So this is part 1 of media effects theory. Okay, most importantly, I hope you understand what we mean by post-positivism as a category. Okay, as a big theoretical category. All right, and then when we discuss like two-step flows, functionalism, these are all part of media effects post-positivist theories. Okay, all right, I think that is it for now. Okay, until we see each other in the second video. Thank you. We end the session with tasbih kafarah and one as.